Okay. Hi. All right, hey you guys, it's Friday. Trying a filter. Because Filter Friday, why not, right? So what I wanted to do was check in, give you guys a progress update as we've been implementing changes here about perfectionism, dealing with my 6-year-old and a first grader and a kid that was having meltdowns at school. And he's a quiet kid. Like I know his type. I am his type. And like the worst thing in the world is to have a breakdown in front of other people, right? Because you're mortified and it's embarrassing and everybody's looking at you. And that's what we hate the worst of all. So that's where this whole thing started. I feel like that was maybe like a month ago. It might have been a little bit longer. It might have been a little bit less. I don't know. But from that time, I've been implementing new strategies here at home, new things that we're doing to really attack this head on and to help him. Because if he's being a perfectionist at the age of 6, what hope does he have for the rest of his life? So if you can, anything in your children, if you can help them change it before the age of 8, they're going to be much better equipped to deal with it, and chances are good they won't even remember that it was an issue earlier in their lives. So, and of course my battery's low, of course. So I wanted to share with you what we've been doing, what's working and what's not, so that you can implement some of this stuff at home. And a lot of this stuff is going in the book that I'm making, Celebrate Your Mistakes. I'll put the link below. The last day for pre-sale on that is Sunday. So Easter Sunday is your last chance to get that for the lower price. And whoops, I just scrolled off myself. So here's what we've been doing here, and here's what you guys can be implementing at home. First of all, we reassessed what was going on at school. The teachers didn't have a lot of resources. Actually, had none. Haven't found a lot of help from the internet, the pediatrician, like nobody. Okay, so in essence, like there is not very much out there, which is why I went and created my own. Because if I'm struggling with this, I've heard from hundreds of parents already that are also struggling with this. So it's not just me and it's not just you, and we're not doing anything wrong. This is just a pervasive issue, and nobody's talking about it, and there's not a lot of tools to solve it. So that's what I've essentially gone on a mission to create, and all of it gets tested right here in my own house because that's what we're dealing with. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4-ish things to talk about. So bear with me. I'll try to make it fast. But first of all, my immediate response was to reevaluate the school experience for my kid. So I don't like what's happening now. We're looking at Montessori schools. We're looking at I don't like what was happening in his classroom in public school. And we're in a great school district, and the schools here, especially the one that was his class. Everybody loves that school. Like everybody's gone to the school. It's been around forever. Like, so it doesn't mean your kid is in a bad school. It doesn't mean the good schools aren't good. It's not a one size fits all approach. And we've known that, and nobody's doing anything about it. So we're looking at other schools like Montessori. I know there's Waldorf schools around. There's another one that starts with a P, but I don't remember what the name is. Jason could tell you. So figuring out, okay, what's an alternative? What can we do instead? Where is a place where, where my kid can go that, it's very, very probable that like we're going to have to come up with some other money for this. And I'm fine with that. Like the money is worth it for him to not have to deal with this on such a high level. And such an intense level that it's affecting who he is as a person, and this is very different than creating kids that are entitled and or don't know how to fail or expecting everything to be handed to them. It's very, very different. That these are not, I don't believe any school out there is a school that's going to prevent them from making mistakes or prevent them from learning how to grow and be better people. So I'm not worried about that. That's not an issue. So we're looking at different schools, number one. Number two, I've mentioned this before, but we've been playing this game on a daily basis. And the game is, I don't know what it's called, but I just call it the mistake game. So every day, we've got to come up with a mistake that we made, okay? And initially, this was just for him. This was just for Aiden, and but he quickly, like within the first turn, turned it around and said, okay, what about you, right? So the game is this. Every day, you have to think of a mistake that you made, all right? And we're going to share it, go around the table, dinner table or whatever. What mistake did you make today? And what did you learn, right? So a lot of us go through the day and we don't really think about it. Adults were probably much more aware, but kids, they might get frustrated. He was to the point where he was getting frustrated and didn't even remember getting upset, which tells me he doesn't think it's okay to get upset. He's just shoving it down and ignoring that he's got feelings at all. So we're playing this game of what did you make a mistake? Okay. And like, you guys, they're little things. Like, they don't have to be anything significant. He might remember that he spelled a word wrong in class. Okay. Or he might remember that he dropped something on the floor, or he bumped into somebody, or he spoke out of turn, or he didn't put something away. Okay. Little stuff. They're first graders, right? Elementary school stuff. It's not going to be that big a deal. Sometimes it's bigger than that, but if he can't think of anything, this is where the game comes into play. He's got to go make a mistake before bedtime, or before dinner, or before stories, or before whatever. You can make this up, whatever makes sense for your house. And this makes it fun, and this makes it very, very silly, because he was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean I have to now go make a mistake? What do you mean I have to, go do something wrong, essentially? He didn't like it at first. He was like, why? Like, he got really upset, and he was like, I don't want to make a mistake. Like, mistakes are bad. Why are we doing this? Why are you wanting me to do this? Like, I'm doing bad things. I was like, no. Mistakes are how we learn. This is how we get better at stuff. You can't learn if you don't make any mistakes at all. And that's where the confusion was for him, is he was thinking mistakes were just bad, and you weren't supposed to make them, and you're supposed to be perfect, and, right? He flat out disagreed with me that mistakes were for learning. He's like, no, they're not. Okay, so you can play this game at home. And now he's reminding me to play the game. He's reminding me, and he'll straight up ask me, Mommy, what mistake did you make today? And I have to think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And so it's good for everybody, because we're talking about how we're imperfect, and we're talking about what we've learned, right? So I was interviewing him for this video. I was hoping that he would come on and talk to you guys, but he was like, no. So today he was telling me that, just as an example, okay, he opened this container of yogurt that he thought that he liked. Once upon a time, he did like. 3 months ago, he liked it. Well, he doesn't like it anymore for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. That counts, okay? And you know what we learned? We learned that his tastes have changed. This is like, everything is a learning opportunity. Your tastes have changed. Why do my tastes change? Well, as you get older, your taste buds can change. Well, how do they change? I didn't even feel them change. And so now we're in a conversation about how our bodies grow, and how interesting that is, and how, if we hadn't have tried this, then we wouldn't have known that we don't like it anymore. So this was a really valuable mistake. This is a mistake that we needed to make, or we never would have known, right? So use the game. Do it every day. Your kids will think it's hilarious. You get to tell them how you're making mistakes. Like, there's so many benefits here. They're going to think it's fun and silly, and it brings all of that into normalcy. Because you're sharing with them how you are imperfect. Your kids think you're perfect. They just do, because you're the expert and you're the boss, and you must know what you're doing if you're the one in charge, right? And it's very easy for us to not want our kids to see our mistakes, because then it might take us out of a place of power. Then they might not respect me. Then they might not, listen to me anymore because I don't know what I'm doing. It's actually the opposite that happens. And they're going to respect you more because now you're just like them, right? Now you make mistakes too. Now you don't know every answer. And now they are more comfortable making those because you're not going to judge them. You're not going to judge them for being a human, okay? Because you're a human too, and everybody's like this, and so on and so forth, okay? So that's number one. Actually, that's number two. 1 is school. 2 is the mistake game. 3 is chores. Give them jobs around the house. They're learning things from these. He's got chores he's got to do every day, and then he's got other ones that he just does on the weekends, like emptying the trash and helping fold laundry and put away the dishes and things like that. So I was asking him, I've given him some new jobs, some things that he's never done before. Do you feel like you've gotten better at them? Yeah. Do you feel like you're helping out? Yeah. I know he likes helping. If there's something that he doesn't even, kids are great, because they want to help, they think it's cool, they don't realize it's like a chore or a job, and when they're excited to help you, let them help you, because they're going to feel like they're contributing, they're going to feel like they're accomplishing something, they're going to feel like they're a part of your family in an even bigger way. My husband was building the shelf in the bathroom, and Aiden wanted to help, and it slowed the project way down, because it does, right? If they're helping you cook, if they're helping you put things away, if they're helping you fold, if they're helping you build, if they're helping you do anything, there's questions. Why are you doing this way? How do I do that? It slows you down when you could just barrel through it, right, and just get it done. You don't always have to let them help, but it's really valuable if you do, because they understand that helping is part of the family, right? You can do chores for money, but you can also do chores just for that sense of contribution and just so they learn a new skill, right? And I tell Aiden all the time, I'm teaching you how to do these things so that when you go off and you're a grown-up and you live by yourself and you have your own family, you will know how to do this on your own, and you won't be having to call your mom and ask her how to do stuff. And he doesn't like that because he doesn't ever want to live apart from me, which I'm fine with, but he'll change his mind, right? All right, so give them jobs that are age appropriate. Okay, so that's going really well here. Do they always want to do them? No, he whines about his chores too, but you know that you're giving them lifelong skills and they're understanding this value of contribution. I put in this while mommy's doing that, and you don't have to do it this way, but it helps him a lot if I'm doing something at the same time. So if I'm cleaning the kitchen, he's doing the trash. We'll put on music, we make it fun, so jobs don't have to be like a drag, and we're working at the same time and we're working together, and then we're like a team, right? And so that makes it fun for him. He doesn't feel like he's missing out on anything. It's not perfect, but it is working, right? So figure out what works for your kids, what pumps them up, what makes them excited, and I give him choices of jobs. When he outgrows one, I give it to his sister. If he gets bored of one, he can say so. Say, I don't love to do this. I'm like, okay, well, here's 2 other ones. Pick one. So he gets to have a little bit of control there over not everything, but some of what he's doing and his choices about how he's going about them. And if I can say yes, I will say yes. All right. You don't have to say yes to everything. You're the parent. Use your discretion, right? The 4th thing, letting them fail. This is so hard. This is so hard for me. My husband is like, you gotta let him fail, right? Like, I don't want him to experience discomfort, but we're not doing our kids any favors by keeping them from failing. This is where they learn that confidence. This is where they learn how to overcome. This is where they learn how to deal with their emotions and their frustrations, right? So allowing him to just be upset, right? Instead of running to his rescue right away, I've stopped doing that. I would, gosh, and Jason and I would do this in different ways. Sometimes we would say like, you're fine. This isn't something to get upset about. You don't need to freak out. And that's not helpful, right? If someone said that to you, if someone said that to me, like, oh, calm down, this is not a big deal, I'd be like, fuck you, man. Like that's not cool. That's not helpful. I'm actually going to get more mad at you for doing that. So think about that when you're saying this to your kids. If I said this to myself or my spouse, like, would I get more mad or would this actually be helpful? Because they're people too, and when we don't let them have their feelings, even when they're loud and crazy and totally out of control, we steal from them the ability to know that feelings are okay and to actually express that emotion. It doesn't, and something you can do and something that we've tried to do is, okay, if you are upset, what are some great ways to deal with that? Okay. We can't scream in somebody's face. That's not very nice. We can't hit anybody because that's terrible. But what are things that you could do? And we can punch a pillow. We can scream into a pillow. We can go to our rooms. We can stomp around, right? Like, there's got to be a space where they can get that out. And it's not like a timeout space. It's not like a you're in trouble space. He thinks it is because he doesn't want to be around. He doesn't want to be alone when he's upset. He wants everybody to watch him be upset, and notice him and fix it, right? And make it okay. And right, like, we want to be validated in our frustrations and our feelings. So you've got to allow it, and we've had to learn to allow it, even though it's uncomfortable and sometimes embarrassing because it might be in public. Like, you just don't know, but you do your best, right? When things go wrong, he's got a space that he can go. He's got a place that he can get that out, and it's hard, right? But there's no talking to them until they've gotten some of that energy out. They've gotten some of those feelings out. And so I've just ignored it. Okay. Like, he's freaking out. I don't run to the rescue. I let him freak out. I do my thing. I kind of pretend like it's not even happening because he needs to deal with it. I don't need to give it attention, but he needs to be able to have it. So I'm not going to tell him not to do it. Okay. And then once they're calmer, you can talk about those emotions. You can say, I can tell you we're feeling this, or I can tell you we're feeling that. Why do you think you felt that way? Or what was going on? What were you thinking about? When he said, I'm the worst kid in the world. Why do you think that? Well, what made you decide that was true? And really talk about that process and get them thinking about how did they come to that conclusion. It's very important. Because a lot of those things are total lies, right? And you don't want them to think that, but I also don't want to tell them how to feel. So it was like, okay, I don't want to tell them how to feel. This is tricky, you guys. Like, you're not going to get it right the first time. I'm still not getting it right, but we're trying here, okay? And so it's different every time. And you can always go back and say, I said this. I didn't mean to say it that way. What I meant to say was, you're allowed to feel however you feel. What I want you to know is that's not true about you. And I know that because blank, right? And it also helps me if I notice that he might be tired today, or he might be hungry, and there's always more meltdowns when those things are going on. So, does he need to go to bed a little early? Is he frustrated? Is he extra frustrated because he's just exhausted? Have we not stopped for lunch? Did he not eat enough lunch? Does he need a snack? Whatever. And then when they're calm or when they're more rested, you can come back even the next day and think of solutions. Sometimes they just want to be mad, just like us. Like, I don't want to solve it. I just want to be mad about it. And I tell them, okay, you can go, feel how you want to feel. Totally cool. When you're ready and you want to think about solutions, you want to think about answers, you want to think about how to fix it, I'm here to help you. Okay, so just let me know. Super helpful. And once he kind of got into that pattern, and I would say, you can go be upset, totally fine. When you're ready to fix it, when you're ready to work on it, and you want help, let me know. And I'm just like, hands off, and he can go deal with it. He doesn't like it, but he can go deal with it, and then we can talk about solutions. And he comes back a lot faster, asking for help, asking to fix it, getting himself out of his like spiral rage, and it also invite them to come up with their own solutions. It's hard because they're so frustrated they can't really think straight, but it's worth it to ask them because eventually they will start to think of their own solutions. That has not happened yet here. He really just wants my answers, but if I give him like 3 or 4 answers and he doesn't like them, which has happened a lot this week, including like, what are you going to eat for lunch? Well, I don't know. And I give him 4 options. Well, I don't like any of those. Well, then, buddy, you go look in the fridge and figure out what you want to eat, because that's all I got. Like, if you don't want it, like, that's not my problem. This is what we have in the house. Things like that. Does that make sense? How long has this gone? Oh, we're talking for 20 minutes now. All right, so let me wrap this up. So there's those are the things that we're working on. We're playing the game. We're having responsibilities. I'm letting him fail, which is probably the hardest part of all, but it is worthwhile, because I'll give you an example of where improvement has happened. And I'm going to use Mario Kart as an example, because this was an area, if your kids have video games, this is an area where he would get so frustrated, like he would throw the thing across the room. And I'm like, dude, if you break that, like, I'm not getting you a new one. That's just how it is. Fair warning, he knew it. Luckily nothing broke, but he wouldn't get first place, and it was just like the end of the world, and he hated the game, and he didn't want to have anything to do with it. He would stomp around, he would yell and scream and rah, right? Like, really, really upset. It's a game, right? I'm not competitive, so it doesn't matter to me, but for competitive people, that stuff really matters. And so we would talk about it, and we talk about it. So he's had this since Christmas. So we've been talking about this kind of thing since Christmas. We're like almost 4 months in this one particular thing. And finally, this week, after 4 months of conversation about, you can try again, and it's okay, and second place is not like the worst thing ever, even though it feels like it is, how could you improve? How could you, whatever, right? How could you get better? Keep trying. Look, you got first place last time. Not everybody can win every time, that sort of thing. And pull in other examples, people that he admires, famous people that he is watching. Oh, so-and-so doesn't always get first place. Use cartoons if you have to, so Lightning McQueen doesn't always get first place, because he doesn't. And give them real world Disney examples of how other people don't always come in first place. Like, it's just not possible. And finally this week, I've watched him get not first place, anything but first place, like 6th place or something. Sometimes he's still upset. Sometimes he's still frustrated because they beat you at the last minute or whatever. But sometimes he will say, all right, well, that's okay. I can try again. And I was like, what? He didn't freak out. So you guys, like, it is worth it. It takes time. You've got to be persistent. Every time it happens, you've got to, think about, okay, how can I best handle this? It's not easy. It's not always obvious. It's not always like, oh, here's the clear-cut answer. A, B, C, right? If this happens, then I can count on this result, because we're people and it's messy and there is no manual. But these are ways that you can do this at home too. That's what's happening here. Mistakes are being easier to make. And he's continuing to grow self-confidence through responsibilities and choices on his own. And then by letting him fail over and over and over again, he's learning resilience. He's learning how to be okay with himself. He's learning how to fail and it not be the end of the world. So it is happening. It is getting in there. It's taking time, and you've got to be persistent with it. But if you're committed to it, and you know the strategies and you know what to do, like, it can't not work. And I feel like when you combine all these, when I've put these other ones into place, it's only sped the process. So this is the stuff that's in this book, Celebrate Your Mistakes. If you're still watching and you're still listening, the Celebrate Your Mistakes book is, I'm putting all of these things in there, plus tons more. This was just 3 or 4 of them, to help you with as many tools as I can, so you can speed this process for your kids. It doesn't have to take forever. It might take 6 months. It might take a year. It depends on what age and growth stage they're in. But over time, it will happen. And the more of these that you can implement at the same time, the better your chances of getting this mindset change